I had one of my contacts come to me and say, "Hey, Gomez, there's something happening on social media you ought to see." And this one girl mentioned my name, said, "Hey, has anybody ever been a victim of this guy?" And mentioned him by name. And underneath, I have, my sister has, my friend has, my sister has, my friend has. And so I said, I'm going to her house. So I went to her house to talk to her. By the time I talked to her, it was over 100 girls that had been raped by this guy.
If you enjoy conversations that encourage and inspire you, I'd love to have you join our community. Please subscribe to Dallas the Podcast. Dallas the Podcast is proudly presented by The Pure Original, the premium skincare company my family and I founded. We believe you shouldn't have to choose between clean ingredients and real results. The Pure Original, real ingredients, real results. Officer Gomez, thank you so much for joining me on Dallas the Podcast. I have had several people ask me to have you on, and I am so excited to have you here.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and looking forward to a great conversation today.
So obviously, there's something going on with kids' phones today. There's too many apps, there's too many things that kids are getting involved in. And you're talking about parents that are loving, involved in their kids' lives, and yet, they're being, railroaded, and it's always after the fact. What can parents do different?
Oh, they can do lots different. But the main thing is education, which is kind of why we're here today, is just to talk about education, educating parents on some of the things they might not know about, educating parents on some of the options they have, educating parents on some of the things they can do to help their kids understand this digital technology world and help them understand, some of the things they need to guide their kids to be safe in it is a very much a new digital world where kids know a lot more than adults.
Absolutely. I think that is probably the first problem here is that parents, honestly, you can hand a phone to a 5-year-old, and I swear they can do more with the phone in a matter of minutes than some adults. It's profound.
Absolutely. And that is a big problem that we have.
Yeah. So before we get into talking about all the questions that I have for you, and talking about how parents can respond, I wanted to spend a few minutes just talking about Officer Gomez. Who was Officer Gomez before? Just Dave Gomez.
Okay, so I was raised in the San Diego area, single mom, on the welfare. We were always moving around chasing jobs or boyfriends. And so I probably went to 20 different schools between kindergarten and high school.
Wow.
Wow. So then after that, by kind of a lucky thing, I ended up going to Phoenix DeVry, and I got a bachelor degree in electronics engineering technology.
Okay.
Which then put me in the Silicon Valley to work on semiconductors. I got to travel the world. I got to, make lots of money, spend lots of money. Then because I really didn't like the traffic in California, I ended up in Boise, Idaho, working at Micron Electronics, which is a big semiconductor industry company. I did that for, I don't know, 12, 13 years. Then one day I saw an ad for Meridian Police. Meridian is right next to Boise, Idaho. It's a big place. I saw an ad for it, and my wife, I said, "Hey, I think I want to become a police officer." And it took her a couple days to accept this, but I became a police officer in a large area. So there was 125 sworn officers with the police department, 100,000 people in our town. So not giant, but big size. And so
Wow.
I became a police officer, and I learned all the police officer things. All this time going on, our kids, we had kids. I married into a just add water family, so my wife had 3 kids. So I was a stepdad, which is a challenge itself for all the step parents out there. I feel you. We always started taking in the kids' friends who were having problems. If they were runaways, they had problems, we would take them into our house. Then I became a police officer about the time our kids started leaving our house, growing up, going off to colleges and things like that. We continued taking in tough kid cases because we didn't have any kids. We could take some risks that nobody else could take. Well, then I became a police officer. I spent 3 years on patrol. Then the administration saw that I was good with the younger crowd, so they asked me to be a school resource officer. So a school resource officer, for those that you don't know, is a fully uniformed officer with a patrol car that goes to the school every day and builds relationships and keeps the kids and the community safe around the school. Um, Building relationships should be the biggest part of that job. So I did that. That was a middle school, 1,200 kids, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. So it's a big middle school. When I got there, what I realized is that a lot of the problems we had at the middle school were social media driven. And this was 2012-ish that I became a resource officer. Um, Lots of the problems at the school were happening online first, then coming to the school, whether it was bullying, whether it was fights, whether it was runaways, whether it was suicidal tendencies, whether it was whatever was happening, it was happening online first. So at the school, I was only getting half the story ever because a lot of it was happening online out of school or even online during school. So I decided, hey, I need to learn social media so that I can see what else is happening. I need to speak this language that the kids are speaking that I don't know anything about. I think at that point, I had an outdated MySpace page, which I never did anything with, anyways, right? So I knew about
Right.
social media, I just didn't use it ever.
Uh-huh.
So I decided I
That
need to
makes sense.
educate myself. And for most of adults, that's a daunting challenge. They might do LinkedIn, they might do something. So I came up with a kind of a genius idea is I made a fake account of a kid at my own school. So it took me about 15
Uh-uh.
minutes. I picked a kid with a motorcycle helmet on. I built a Facebook page basically, and I started adding friends at my own school. I picked 10 of the most popular kids. Let's see what happens.
No
Yep.
way.
So I added these 10 kids. They all accepted me within a couple hours. Not one person asked me who I was, which I was kind of disappointed in because I had this great story to tell. In case they asked me, nobody asked me.
Oh my gosh. No
So
way.
once I had 10 of the popular kids, all I did was reshare what they shared, like what they like. And what I found is kids at my own school started adding my account. Within about 3 months, more than 500 kids at my own school had added me. No,
They didn't know who you were.
no,
They didn't even know who you were.
no, they had no idea who I was. They just thought I was another kid. Now with 1,200 kids, they all don't know each other. And so even though I said I went to the same middle school, nobody ever asked me about that. Nobody said anything about that. And they just kept on adding me. So I only added 10. After that, by the hundreds, kids added me just for liking and resharing what the popular kids were doing. So
That is
now I had 500 kids on my fake social media account. Now I could see, I knew who was dating who. I knew when fights were going to happen, I could stop them before they happen. I knew what acronyms the kids were using. I knew who was bringing drugs to school, what they cost, who was selling them. I knew who was suicidal. I knew who was getting abused. I knew who was cutting. And I actually, just through that, I became one of the best people at finding runaway kids for the entire area because I had this social media resource that nobody else had. So even other departments across the state, when they were missing kids for longer than a couple weeks, they would contact me and say, "Hey, see if you can find this person on social media," and I would. Right, most of the time, I could easily find them.
wow.
So now,
That is crazy.
yes, so it was really crazy. And so as I was doing that, what I discovered is that when we would arrest high profile sex predators that were violent or whatever they were, I would type their names into my fake social media and I always came up with friends in common. Always.
Wow.
And I would ask the kids, I would say, "Hey, look, we arrested this person who's a very violent sex predator. I see they're a friend on your friends list. Do you know them?" "Oh no, I just add people I don't know," which I knew to be the case because they were adding me.
You.
So then I started
Oh.
teaching social media classes at the school. And I would sixth, seventh, and eighth grade classes. I'd go into the computer class, teach them. And so as an adult, the kids were not quite listening to me because I had no street credit. So in order to kind of shock them into listening to me, I started off telling them I have a secret count and you guys are all my friends. Right. So of course that got
How did they handle that?
so that got their attention. And of course they say, "Well, we're going to delete you." And I'd say, "Get your phones out, delete me now." And as they get their phones out, they'd look at me and they'd look at their accounts and say, "Hey, Gomez, which one of my 3,000 friends are you?" "I'm not saying." "Delete everybody you don't know and you'll have deleted me."
Oh, look at you. You're brilliant.
Right. So and these took time. It wasn't like I just came up with these things overnight. It took some trial and error, a lot of trial and error, but I had time. And so then,
That is amazing. Like, I mean, what made you think to do that?
just trying different things, talking to kids all the time, seeing what they like. I mean, once I started seeing what they liked and didn't like and understanding their things, I started coming up with different things. And I mean, some of my ideas failed miserably and some of them came out okay. So I just started expanding on the ones that came out okay. So so
Wow.
that was awesome. I started teaching the class, and as soon as I told them I had a fake account, now I mean the kids would actually make hunting parties to try and find me,
Find you.
which they couldn't, but the education started happening. Well, at the same time,
Right.
I was getting parents who were calling me and saying, my kid's getting bullied online. What can you do? And I'd say, look, I'm looking at your kid's account here. They have 3,000 followers. And my first kind of social media rule I came up with 200 followers or less. I said, they got 3,000 followers. You need to get them down to 200. That way we know who's who. What I found was as people got more than 200 friends, they reach the 300 mark, they become anonymous and they say things they wouldn't say in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So then I started teaching parents, and I started just a little Facebook page of here's my things I'm finding at the school, which started growing and growing and growing. And it's, what it is today, 450,000 followers on Facebook. Started off with just me at the school giving some of the things. This is what I'm seeing at the school today. Well,
Wow.
a year later, after doing that, and I started educating the kids, I decided to test them. I made a second fake account of a 13-year-old girl. And so as I'm adding friends this second time around, the kids really aren't letting me add them because not only are they not adding me, they're reporting me. So I started getting banned from adding friends on my second fake account, which was this 13-year-old girl.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Okay, obviously you're educating them, in this class, and now they're like, okay, someone just friended me that's 13 years old, and I'm going to say that this is a fake account. What were the things they looked for to say, okay, this is fake?
So kids are super smart. And, by then they'd been hunting me for a year on my other account. And so they started talking to each other. Hey, look, it's a fake account. If this person says they go to our school, but we've never seen them. They say they like this. We don't have any connection with them. So they start looking at different things and they start coming up with their own variables on how to tell it's a fake account.
Okay.
But they
Okay.
did learn pretty quickly. Not all of them. So in about 3 months, I had maybe 30 kids, 40 kids who accepted my friend requests,
Okay.
which was way better
Okay.
than
So
500 adding me.
right. Like that's a pretty good. Like that means you're doing a good job teaching your
Yes.
kids.
Well, so then what I did is my next idea is I opened it up to friends of friends. So if you were friends with those 30 or 40 kids who accepted my friend request and you sent me a friend request, I would accept you no matter who you were. Well, what started happening is I started getting friend requests from 20, 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old men on this fake 13-year-old girl account who doesn't have any connection to anybody.
Oh my gosh.
So
Yeah.
a
Now
majority of,
you're like your eyes are opened
yep,
and you're like, okay, hold on. This is very weird. Why are 34-year-old men wanting to be friends with a 13-year-old girl?
yes, it was very strange.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of icky.
Yeah.
So I will say a big amount of those, more than half, were what we call a ghost follower. So they would follow my account. They'd never say anything. They'd never do anything. They'd never private, nothing, just a ghost. It was still
Mm-hmm.
weird, but a portion of those were not ghosts. They would start private messaging me.
Oh my gosh.
So right away, I ended up arresting a 26-year-old man who came to a park near our school thinking he was going to meet up with a 13-year-old girl and have sex with her. Right. And so when I arrested that first guy at the park, I did a search warrant on his accounts. And what I found is he was actually a homeless guy who had this big story about him being in the military and he was overseas. And I mean, he had an extravagant story and he was getting a voucher to go from the homeless shelter to the public library, friending about 100 middle school girls every day, which he was probably getting a 90% acceptance rate. Every girl that accepted his friend request, he would send him the exact same story he sent to my fake 13-year-old girl. Now, over a 3-month period, which my search warrant was for, I found more than 100 middle school girls that sent him naked pictures of themselves.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so then, of course, the chief of police and the mayor said, "Hey, is this a one-off thing or is this a big problem in our area?" So then I formed basically with another officer that summertime when SROs normally go to patrol, we made a predator patrol and we started making fake accounts. Well, we arrested like 14 guys in 10 weeks who came to our town thinking they were going to have sex with kids. But if we had the resources, we could have arrested 15 guys every single day who offered to come and have sex with 13-year-old kids. Every single day.
Oh my.
And the reason
Wow.
we couldn't arrest 15 every day is because when you arrest one of these guys, number one, it's a giant setup, right? You have to call fusion
Yeah.
centers, you have to set up undercover guys, you have to set up ambulances. I mean, it's a big event. Then once you arrest them, you do search warrants on their accounts and you always get back the data and there's real victims somewhere. So now I have to start calling other agencies. Hey, I need you to go talk to this kid. I think they're a victim of a sex crime. Here's my report.
Right.
Here's my information. So those 14 guys took me like 6 years of going to court to clear all those cases, right? It becomes a
Oh
full-time job just in a few of them. So
Right.
to arrest all of them would be a full-time job for 1,000 people, and they would have work for the rest of their lives.
Wow.
So
That is, I mean, those numbers are just crazy. And this was like 10 years ago or 8 years ago.
yeah,
When this started.
This was probably 14 years ago, 15 years ago.
14.
Yes.
Wow.
So then I kind of took a break from that because it really grosses you out to see what adult men want to do with 13-year-old girls and how they talk and what they plan to do. And then when they showed up, you know, they have ropes, they have duct tape, they have guns, they have all kinds of things. Right? So
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm just like my jaw is on the floor right now because one, this is just disturbing. And two, that this was happening like 14 years ago, and now we've got all these other social media channels that people are using that are even more vulgar. So this was like, you know, the very beginning stages of social media, and it was already this bad.
absolutely. Absolutely. So
I had no idea.
yeah, and
Wow.
neither did anybody else. So luckily, Internet Crimes Against Children formed right around then, and I helped them get going in Idaho, and they took over a lot of that work. So then I went back to my school job and just started continuing teaching. Little by little, I would learn things. I would put it on my Facebook page. Now, what was nice about my Facebook page is that as it grew, my information grew because I hear from parents all over the world. Hey, thanks for posting this out. Nobody else is doing this. Have you heard about this? Have you seen this loophole? Have you seen this? And some I had and some I hadn't. So I would share that as it would come in from parents, and I still do that.
Wow.
Last week I shared a story from an Australian mom who her daughter got basically contacted through iTunes, Apple Music. Now, she was super surprised because I'd seen that twice before. I'd been contacted by other moms, and I showed her the post from years ago that I had put out that exact trick on Apple Music. So
how does that happen? How do you even contact a person through Apple Music, iTunes?
yes, so most parents don't understand. There's a loophole and everything, but in Apple Music, what the people do, it's kind of slow and clunky, but if a kid has it, they will make a playlist. And they will name the playlist their communication, right? So they put 2 songs, make a playlist, meet me at 2 a.m. behind Wendy's. Now they send it to their boyfriend or predator or whoever. Then they make a playlist. Okay, hey, I can't meet you till 3 a.m.
What?
And they can talk one sentence at a time.
Wow. Okay, but how would they get to there? Like, is it through they're in social media and they're having these conversations, and that's where this whole relationship starts?
Or in person. In fact, the first couple were, a 16-year-old girl was being talked to by a 35-year-old man. But he said, hey, get iTunes and we'll start talking on iTunes. And he sent her the friend request, not a friend request. He built the first playlist and invited her to it because he knew her iTunes username. And now they start talking.
Gosh.
Yeah.
That is just so insane to me. Like that, I mean, obviously where there's a will, there's a way.
Yes.
And, you know, evil is rampant. It's present everywhere. And, you know, there's nowhere that is really safe anymore as far as when you think about technology and where everything's headed, right? So I want to, I mean, this is insane. I'm just really blown away at all the things that you're telling me and how this whole thing started. And like, wow, what a gift you are to parents at, you know, way back then to today. And, you know, you've obviously been exposed to a lot. One of the questions I wanted to ask is, you know, you just mentioned that you started seeing some of these things on, you know, you were hearing obviously your own experience through the fake accounts, but then you realized there was a platform through using social media where you could actually start sharing this stuff online. When did that start? And, you know, what made you feel so confident that this was going to take off?
So it probably started the same year I became an SR, which was 2013. Started, and I had no confidence in it taking off. It's just like, hey, this is a way I can share with more than just every parent I talk to. Let's get a little more reach so that I don't have to talk to every parent. And the first
Right.
year was only parents from my school. And it was only a few, right?
Okay.
Started off with, 10, 12 parents. Then I think the second year, a church asked me to come give a class. And so I went to the church and I gave a class, and there probably like 3 or 4 parents showed up to that church class. They were
so small.
Yeah, they were so
considering like the information you're giving.
Yeah, so then,
yeah.
Because they had no idea what I was going to talk about, because most parents still to this day think they know social media, they think their kids are safe, they think, right? And so that's what they thought as well. When I gave that class to 2 or 3 parents, I came back probably a couple months later to probably 30 parents, because now those parents had told the other parents, hey, this is real, you need to figure this out, you need to hear this. So that grew. And then I started advertising, hey, I'm going to be at this church, I'm going to be at this middle school on my Facebook page, which made it grow more. So I had no idea that it would grow crazy. I wasn't confident at all. I mean, I didn't know much about social media even. I could have never imagined that it grew into what it is today.
Well, you just knew that you had a message that needed to be shared, and that, you know, the best, honestly, it's like the best. There's good things about social media and there's bad things, obviously, but the good thing is you can reach a heck of a lot more people through social media. And, you know, this message just needed to be shared. So you just started sharing, and over time it just continued to grow and grow and grow. And now you're sharing, like speaking all over.
Yes. And so
doing it.
Yes. And so now I speak, I have groups. I mean, some of the groups are just, 10 or 20 parents, and some of them are 1,000 people.
Wow. Well, okay. So obviously, I want to talk about like different platforms. I think that there's so many platforms out there, unfortunately, and I don't know how you even stay on top of all of them. But the 3 that I really wanted to focus on is Snapchat, Roblox, and Discord. Those 3.
Okay.
And how they're used. Let's talk about Snapchat first. I have had personal experience with Snapchat, not me personally, but I have 3 children. 2 were teenagers, one's still in elementary. My son got Snapchat, and definitely should have never let him have that. Wish I would have never done that, but he did tell me that I should not let my middle child have it, because he learned very quickly like how that whole thing works. So what is your experience with Snapchat? Do you think it's the worst platform out there? Or if not, which one is?
Okay, Snapchat is, in my opinion, the worst. So
I agree.
Couple of things make it the worst. Number one is it's very secretive, right? Things delete automatically after you read them. Number 2, most kids have it, which makes the peer pressure unbelievable, right? Not only the peer pressure for kids, but the peer pressure for parents. You don't want to be the parent where your kid is the only one in 7th or 8th grade who doesn't have Snapchat.
My daughter does not. And she tells me every day, every person has it besides her.
Yep. So the peer pressure is very strong, both for kids and for adults. Because of its secretive nature, there's lots of drug dealing, there's lots of sex stuff going on, there's sex trafficking, there's sexual grooming. But what makes it extra dangerous is the mapping. So Snap Map, which it has, let's say your kid makes a mistake and sends out a picture that they shouldn't have sent out, even just a sexy picture without even nude. Let's say they send out a bikini picture to their group. Now that gets shared. Sooner or later, an adult creeper is going to get that picture. They're going to add your kid on Snapchat. They're going to check their Snap Map, and now an unknown adult who has your kid's photo knows where they go to school. They know what their class schedule is. They know what their house is. They know where they sleep at night. They know what bathroom they use. They know where they work. They know what sports they play after school. They know everything about them. Now, you can turn off the Snap Map, but kids bully themselves into putting it back on because they want to see who's at the concert with them, who's at the mall, who's going to be at the football game. And so it's always on. So then what happens, as happened in one of our cases, is somebody flew across state lines to come to one of our middle school volleyball games because they have a naked picture of one of our volleyball girls. And so now you got this creeper in the upper stands checking our volleyball game because a girl had sent out a nude photo of herself, which now attracted creepers to not only our community, but to her house, to her volleyball game, to her school. All kinds of dangers come with that, which is why in most states they make it a crime for minors to send out pictures, because it does bring danger to the community. Now, the other problem with Snapchat is it is very predator friendly. And what I mean by that is it is the number one application used for sextortion.
Okay.
And the reason they like to use that is because Snapchat actually deletes data for the predators on behalf of the predators. So I, as a police officer, if I go take a sextortion report from a 14-year-old kid, boy or girl, who's getting sextortion, when I send a subpoena to Snapchat, the data I get back does not include the peer-to-peer chat. Snapchat actually deletes that data so they don't have to give it to police.
Oh my gosh.
So now, unless the victim got their own screenshots, which is tough for them and it's scary, unless they got their own evidence.
They take a snapshot of the picture, then it notifies the person on the other end that you've taken a picture of it.
It does.
Is that correct?
It does. Now, kids know a way around that, right? Every kid knows a way around that. You just take a picture with a second camera, a second phone, an iPad, or anything like that. Everybody knows that. But they're scared at the time, so sometimes they don't do that. So unless the victim gets their own evidence, I get zero evidence from Snapchat. Snapchat will give me IP addresses, they'll get me phone numbers, they'll get me, whatever they do have, they will give me, and they do it pretty quickly, but they don't give me the important information. And predators know this, so they want kids to go to Snapchat.
Yeah, of course.
Which makes it super horrible. The other bad thing about Snapchat is it's got a built-in AI friend, number one, which means that every person that has Snapchat has an AI buddy built in, and some of the kids are using this for their therapist, their sex dating partner, their boyfriend. They make it their boyfriend and girlfriend. Here's this artificial thing that they're talking to, and we're unleashing artificial intelligence on kids worldwide without having any idea what the long-term repercussions are.
So they're creating a false person that they think is in their mind real, but is not.
Yep.
And having this conversation and thinking it's a real relationship.
They know it's not a real person, but they have a real relationship with them. They can dress them, they can name them, they can make them whatever gender they want, and they start a relationship with. They pretend it's their boyfriend, girlfriend. They pretend it's their therapist. They pretend it's their psychologist. It's their homework helper. It's their and they say, hey, if its name's Bob, hey, Bob, do you think I should talk to Jake or should I talk to Sally today? Hey, Bob, do you think I should send naked pictures to this person that, asked me for naked pictures? Hey, it's like a magic 8-ball, but the super newer version.
Crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. And oh my gosh, is this like from Satan himself? Like seriously?
It might be.
Is this like.
It might be.
Goodness.
So, on top of all that craziness, Snapchat has a hidden picture vault. It's called My Eyes Only. So you have a folder in Snapchat. It's called My Eyes Only. It's pin coded. And if a parent doesn't know that pin code, you cannot get into that vault. Even police cannot get into that vault. Again, Snapchat does not keep that pin code, so they don't have to give it to police, which makes them police friendly again. That's where they hide all their pictures, and a parent cannot get to it. On top of that, we have streaks. Streaks are, if I send a picture and you get a picture back, that's one streak in 24 hours. And kids have so many streaks, they don't want to go out of Wi-Fi for more than 24 hours because they do not want to lose their streaks. Now, recently, Snapchat made it so that you can buy your streaks back if you lose them. But that is so strong that, 15 years ago when I started arresting people, their biggest request is to stop and have a cigarette because they know they can't smoke in jail.
Right.
Now, one of the bigger requests we get, especially from young people, is, hey, can you give my BFF my username and password for Snapchat because I don't want to lose my streaks. So they're going to jail, and this is their biggest concern, is losing their streaks.
They've lost, this is like so corrupt, and just like, I mean, their value and is in a app, like a social media app. That's their value.
Yes, and there's many, many, many kids. I ask them all the time, what are your values? What are you worth? And they have no idea other than their political, propaganda they hear on TikTok and Snapchat. Well, I believe in abortion, and I believe in not abortion, and I believe, I hate Donald Trump, and I think that, college should be free. And I mean, that's their whole person. They don't have any values anymore.
Obviously, I want to talk about Roblox because my youngest likes to play Roblox. But I do want to go back to Snapchat after we talk about these 3 different apps that I wanted to discuss, because I do think that there is so much that needs to be done from, I think, a parent, whether it's parents or it's the kids' perspective of like where their worth comes from. It makes me just super sad that kids are so inclined to give so much credence and value and their worth to something that is not even real versus like real relationships, and how we combat that. Because that is a huge topic that, I want to discuss more. But can we talk about Roblox really quick and tell me like how are predators getting into Roblox?
Okay. And remind me to tell you about my value story.
Okay. I will.
Okay. But Roblox is popular between like 5 and 12-year-olds. It's very blocky.
Okay.
Inside of Roblox, there's user-made mini games. Lots of user-made mini games. There's thousands of user-made mini games. Okay. Now, 5 to 12-year-olds love to play this. My grandkids played it.
Yep.
Unfortunately, that attracts more predators than almost any other app.
Seriously?
Yes. And the reason, here's the exact reason. So if you are a fisherman, where are you going to go fishing at? Where the fish are. Mm-hmm. So if you are a predator of children, you're not going to go on adult websites to find children. You're going to go on kids stuff. And right now, because Roblox is and has been the most popular online application for kids, the predators who want kids are going to go after kids in that platform. Mm-hmm. Lots and lots of predators.
So how do you protect them? I mean, I understand there's obviously you can bring people in, you don't know who they are, I do understand Roblox and how like kids get on and they talk to their friends. Is it the same kind of thing that like what you did with, when you first started this whole venture and creating a Facebook or a social media platform and being fake? Is that same thing?
It's exactly the same. So, and they will target them. They will say, hey, 7-year-old soccer player. That's what their username will be. And so then they're in these worlds and they're interacting with your kids, whether you want them to or not. Now, the only safety feature that Roblox really has for that is you can turn off the main chat.
So then you can't communicate with your friends.
With anybody. So then what they do after that is inside the mini games themselves, they make spinning blocks to be able to communicate or drawing walls to be able to communicate. So they get around the chat. The other thing they do in order to get at kids and kind of groom them over time is they use a lot of pornographic names that are misspelled or have special characters in them, or drug names that have misspellings or special characters in them, so that we are essentially grooming kids to be worth their body parts. And we're desensitizing them to sexual terms, to drug terms.
Explain that. What do you mean by that? I want to make sure I'm understanding.
Okay, so
they're changing the names?
Yeah, so they make their character names, because once you get in there, you can name your character, you can dress them, you can make them look however you want. So they name them, or they build buildings, and they misspell drug names, right?
Okay.
So, marijuana is going to have the at symbol instead of an A in there.
Gotcha.
And then, they'll put an L that looks like an I. And so they'll just misspell it just to get your kids exposure to sex and drugs.
And they don't know any better. They don't know.
They don't know,
right?
and neither do they care. And then in these user-created worlds, all kinds of loopholes happen. When Roblox first started a long time ago, my wife and I were watching a news story, and you can still look up this news story. But a mom came on and said, "Hey, my 7-year-old daughter got raped at the park inside of Roblox by, multiple characters." And I told them, I was like, I don't think that's true. And then the next week, Roblox came out and said, "Hey, we fixed the loophole that allowed for raping of kids in the Roblox virtual worlds," right? So it actually does happen.
What?
Now,
that is just, how do you, it makes you just want to turn everything off.
yes.
And it's not real. You can't, but you want to. Why? Why do we have any of this?
Yeah. And so the other problem with Roblox is that a lot of parents use it as a babysitter.
Mm.
Now, I don't judge too much for that, because I used to use Barney for a babysitter.
Yeah.
Right? If I needed to go to the grocery store.
The dinosaur.
Yeah, if I needed to go to the grocery store, you put in the Barney VHS and you eject it, and you rewind it and you put it back in. But a lot of these parents now are using this for their full-time babysitter. And you can sit a 6, 7, 8-year-old on the couch with Roblox. You could go to Hawaii and come back, and they're still going to be on Roblox. It is super addictive.
Yes.
Right? And so I will tell you that as a police officer, the two programs that we get called the most for 911 calls from parents who say, "My kid is having a meltdown, they're breaking windows, they're freaking out, we need help," is Roblox and Fortnite.
Yep. I can believe Fortnite. I'm very familiar with Fortnite and Roblox. So Roblox, that's the way in which they get in, is through, basically through the chat, and they can fake being the, soccer number 7, whatever, to, look for those kids that will actually choose them to be part of that chat.
What their goal is to port them to some other program, because Roblox itself does not allow for private communication very easily, and it doesn't allow for pictures to be sent. So in that way, it's a little bit safer than some things, but it allows enough that they can port them to a different program like Snapchat, or one of the popular ones right now is CapCut. They will try and get them to CapCut, which is a video editing program. And a lot of parents don't understand you can have private conversations on CapCut.
Oh my gosh. I know CapCut. I use it for lots of, for the videos and things like that. But there's a way to make it have offline conversations with, child predators.
And most parents have no idea what that is.
Okay.
Right? And
so I know what CapCut is, but how would they have an offline conversation on CapCut?
So what they do is they have them create a video, and then they like their video. And now underneath the video, you can have a whole conversation. On my Facebook page, I have it step by step on how you can communicate privately in CapCut.
Is there any social media? Let's go there. Is there any social media that is safe?
No. So
any games that are on the phone?
I always joke on my Facebook page. It's like, hey, here's the 2026 list of safe internet connected apps for kids, and there's nothing, right? So where's the list? That's it.
What is the best one? I guess.
So Minecraft is one of the only ones where you can unplug it all. You can do the updates. You can unplug it and play it completely by yourself and do everything you need without talking to anybody. You could take it on a camping trip. You can take it in your car, because it does not require you to be connected, whereas Roblox requires you to be connected.
Now let's go to Discord. What is Discord, and why is it one of the worst ones?
So Discord is not as popular with everybody. So I would put it in my top 7. It's not my top 3. It's in my top 7. But Discord's definitely a problem. And here's the big problem with Discord. Discord is for gamers. So gamers use this to communicate about their games. Well, again, back to the Roblox thing. If I'm a fisherman, where am I going to go fishing at? If I'm after kids, where
Yeah.
am I going to go after kids? On gaming apps. So Discord is not a game. It's just a kind of a group chat that you can go in different rooms or different, they basically separate it out by which games and what about each games. Hey, here's Call of Duty sub
Yeah.
thing. And on Call of Duty, we're looking for teams. We're looking for this, or what's the best kill you made, or video, or whatever it is. Hacks, cheats. They have it separated in all kinds of things. But the predators already have something in common with the kids when they go into Discord, right? Because
Yeah.
they know if they want to, if they get good at Call of Duty, now they have this in common with some other kid. Hey, let's play Call of Duty together. Now they play Call of Duty.
Right.
They give them a lot of praise, and they start a conversation. Hey, and Discord is not something that parents normally check for conversations, nor do you know how to check all the different rooms that their kids are chatting in. So now these predators have open access to the kids.
What percentage of kids that are between 5 and 12 like actually know that they're being groomed? Do you think that any of these kids
they all think they're making friends, and that's part of the groomer's job is to, number one, alienate them from their parents.
So like what kind of conversations are they having? Like what are they saying? Like
Number one, the groomers will start giving the kids lots of praise. Hey, love your character. Love your little sword that you made, or love the way you built this house in Roblox. Love the way, they start giving them lots of praise. I wish I could build a house like that. Then as they start grooming them more, they start telling them, hey, I think you're really talented, and I don't think your family appreciates you like I do, right?
What?
And I don't think anybody understands you the way I do. If they did, they would let you have more time on Roblox. They would never put a limit on your Roblox if they knew how mature you were. You're much more mature than you. So these are things that they start doing. Then after that, they move to an emotional hook, right? So, hey, you're a really good friend. I'm going to tell you that my grandma died last week, and I'm really sad about it.
So then they become emotionally involved and feel bad for that person.
Then they move into making that kid responsible for the predator's feelings. Hey, if you tell anybody, I'll just go kill myself. Or if you don't do this, then I might cut myself and end up in the hospital like I did last year.
Wow.
And to a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old, they have no idea how to deal with this.
Right.
And they know
and these predators are doing the long game, right?
Yes,
like
and then
they're playing the long game. They're not playing this like short game like they're going to get with this kid immediately. They're playing long games with tons of kids.
And there's tons of predators. So it's not only one predator going after kids, it's a ton of them. And the kids, number one, they don't know how to deal with this. Number two, they're afraid that if they tell mom or dad, they're going to lose Roblox privileges.
Yes.
Which they probably would, right? Because parents are going to go to freak level 5. Oh, you're never playing Roblox again.
Yep.
So
I'm going to protect you. I got to protect you. And the only way I know to protect you is to just completely eliminate it,
so
right?
Kids know
and
this.
I've done that. So I get it.
Yep. Kids know this, and predators know this. So it really works against them.
Okay. So as a parent, how do I have this conversation with my kid?
You got to have these conversations ahead of time.
Yeah.
Like, hey, look, I'm going to let you on Roblox. Let's talk about this. And your pornography talk has to be on point and very regular. Your creeper talk has to be on point and very regular. And a lot of parents cannot comprehend that there are 30, 40, 50-year-old people after their kids.
Right.
Right. I mean, it's just
because it's just so gross. Like it's not a logical. It's not logical. No. It's so hard to understand that there would be people out there that would want that. Yep. But obviously, we do know that it's out there. But it's hard to like wrap your head around that there's people out there and that they're using these games. If they're spending time, who has time to do this? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do and what's crazy is it's men or women, I guess, some women. I don't know. What is the percentage of women that do this?
It's not very many, but there are some.
High percentage of men, they're like everyday people. That's what's scary.
Yes, for whatever weird reason, psychological reason. A lot of them are failed. They have some kind of a failed life, right? Either their
Okay. So
relationship, their
they,
real relationship, their real marriage is falling apart, whatever. So they use this as their escape. They hate their job, so they use this as their escape. They go after kids because kids are very malleable, they're very impressionable, and the kids don't see the grooming coming.
and so they feel confident. It's
Yeah.
that confidence, that pride that they are more powerful. It's power, and that they can take advantage of somebody.
Yep. So I talk to the middle school kids at my own school. I talk to them all the time about people they don't know. It's like, hey, you got a friend you don't know? Maybe it's Officer Gomez's account, right? And especially,
Yeah.
they tell me they're talking to a girl in another state. I'm like, that's a dude, right? I said,
Yes.
that's some creeper guy in somebody's basement living with mom, getting a sandwich made every day. That's who you're talking to. So, it's lighthearted. I joke with them a lot, but we do it often so that every day, hey, I think you're talking to a dude, or I think you're talking to
Yeah.
a girl.
You don't want to talk to a dude.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
And that's why they send pictures, right? So like in Snapchat, like they'll say, send a picture of your face, but that doesn't even mean that it's actually the person. Like they could have pictures of somebody else.
you could send live video where it's videoing the predator and it changes their gender, changes their age. I have one on my Facebook again where a TikTok filter,
Uh-huh.
it was the teen filter was what it called, and I'm over 50 and it made me probably look like I was 22. It didn't make me look like a teen, but it took off 20 years out of my life, and I could talk live and everything with it with just a filter.
So that's AI, which we're going to touch on here in a minute. So let's go back to Snapchat. I told you I would ask you the moral compass, people and their value and their worth, and why we're seeing such a decline in, the way people view themselves and the confidence they have and the worth that they have. So do you have a story for that?
Yeah, so I have really close relationships with a lot of kids at the school, but I had a 10th grade girl come into my office at the large high school I was working at, and she said, "Hey, Officer Gomez, I don't know why I'm getting all these non-committed guys to date." She goes, I date them, and it seems like, a week or two later, they're off to the next girl. She goes, so I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And so I said, hey, look, tell me what you're worth. And she says, I don't know what that means. I'm like, okay, what are your values? What are you worth? She goes, I still don't know what that means. I'm like, okay, I have a dog at home that can tell me he needs to go outside and go pee and tells me when he's hungry. What can you do better than my dog? And she still struggled to come up with anything that was better than my dog.
Oh my God.
So then I went further. I said, hey, okay, look, let's take a break for the day. I said, but let's just pretend that on Friday you have to get married. I want you to write down all the things you want your future husband to have. Right? All the characteristics. Do you want him to have money? Do you want him to do this? What? Tell me. I mean, I explained to him as much as possible. And she came back with like 2 pages of list stuff that she wanted in her boyfriend, husband. And so I said, all right, now go and star all the things that you have in yourself. And she thought, well, you tricked me. I'm like, I didn't trick you. I just focused you. I said, because if you want that, you better be that.
Right.
And I always tell the kids at the school, it's like, hey, look, 2s don't marry 10s and 10s don't marry 2s. Where are we at?
Yeah.
And I tell them in high school and middle school, you're a 5. How do you get from a 5 to a 2? Drugs, alcohol, tobacco, all kinds of things are going to get you to a 2. How do you get from a 5 to a 10? Hey, participate in school, show up to class on time, be respectful, learn anything, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the value thing, so then this girl had no idea. So then I started asking all kinds of kids, hey, what are your values? I ask their parents, what are your values? They have no idea, right? They'll spout out something to me. I'm like, do your kids know this? Well, we talked about it once. No, talk about it once versus they're getting 5 or 6 hours of values, social media values, which are way different than real values.
Right.
And social media is going to teach your kid they are worth their politics. They are worth their activities. Right?
Their streaks. They're worth their streaks.
They're worth their streaks, right? And so, especially with the gender things, you ask a kid what they're worth. Well, I'm trans, poly, this, that, the other. I'm like, no, that's an activity. What are you worth? What's your values?
Right.
Right? They don't know because nobody has talked to them about it. All they get is their social media stuff. And I'm telling you, I get so much politics. Like, no, I don't want TikTok values. I don't want those kind of values. And then, I get a lot of kids that come and want to debate with me. As a cop, they see something on TikTok, cop wise. And so when they come and debate, I said, look, question number one is, can we disagree and be friends afterwards?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if they say, well, unless you're a fascist, I can't. Okay, well, then let's not talk and we can still be friends.
Yep.
Right? Or, I'll ask them, is this a TikTok argument? Right? Is this something you
Mm-hmm.
saw on TikTok? And then, third question is, what stake do you have in this? Did you research it? Do you have some kind of
Yep.
personal involvement? Did you do anything more than see a TikTok clip on it?
Right.
And then just get some thinking. So
Yeah.
then the next time they come to me, hey, look, I did this. I did some research. I mean, at minimum, do some Google research, even though Google isn't always right. At minimum, look up some things.
It saddens me so much that that their identity and their worth. I tell my children all the time that, I have 3 very good athlete kids, and I tell them all the time, your identity is not in your sport, it's not in your school, it's in Christ alone. And, and that is where your worth is. And that is where your identity is. And, I feel like that's what's missing in a lot of kids today, is that, they don't know Jesus. They don't have faith in anything. Their faith is in social media.
Yes. And so, the way I explain it to some of the groups I speak with, especially parents, I say, hey, look, 200 years ago, when people came from wherever they came from to the United States, they stayed in their communities, right? You had, the Chinese, the Italians, the Germans would all stay in their communities. And when you left for vacation, your kids were watched by the neighbors. Your values were being upheld because you all had the same values. Well,
Right.
as we kind of, became the melting pot and people went their separate ways, churches became that. Right. So then
Yep.
you had your same values with your church and your community, which some churches still have, but we've moved away from that now. So many people don't go to church. They don't know God. They don't know Jesus anymore. So
Mhm.
they've gotten away from that. So what values do we have left? We don't have our, who we came with values. We don't have our church values. All we have is TikTok values now. And that's no
Yeah.
values at all.
And parents, I think that's where their role is to, help bring them back to where their identity should be, right? Like that's the role of the parent. The role of the parent should be enforcing, who they are, what they're about, their morals, their family dynamics, and, and then allowing them to have some freedoms, but only within guidelines. Like there needs to be discipline, there needs to be parameters, which I know parents have asked you a million times, and I'm going to ask you now, like, what are those parameters that parents need to have, and how do they enforce it?
Yeah. So one of the most important things I tell parents all the time is you have to put down your own phone.
Be the example.
Probably one of the most important things I tell, hey, you want to start with being the example, showing your kids an example, right? And that's everyday examples. When you're driving and somebody cuts you off, how are you going to handle it? When a telemarketer calls you, how are you going to handle it? When you have a problem at work with a coworker, how are you going to handle it? When you have a problem with your spouse, how are you going to handle it? Because your kids are watching all the time.
It's a movie,
right?
You're the movie.
Right. And every difficult situation is an opportunity for you to show your kids how to handle it appropriately. And, small things that parents can do, aside from putting down their own phone, take back the dinner table.
Right.
Right. And a lot of parents don't take back the dinner table. Every single person, including the parents at the dinner table, has their phones out if they even have dinner together.
Right.
Do activities. I always say pick an activity, especially as the kids are young. What you can do, motorcycle, photography, some kind of a sport, anything activity, as well as church. Church is a wonderful activity for families to do.
Right.
But even now, we're in the business of finding a new church here in our new location in Louisiana, and you go there, and most of the kids and a lot of the parents, even during church, are on their phones. Right? We got to take a break from that. But parents have a big thing, and build your community around, hey, let's get some real life living. Let's show real examples. Let's build it up. In Idaho, where I came from, we had the Mormon church, and they were big on families. And so like an hour of their church is just building your family, which was awesome, right? Because now they do a structured, let's build your family on top of, getting to know Jesus and God and the word of the Bible. They also get to know their family. And it's deliberate and intentional parenting is what I call it. Be intentional.
Yes.
Make these decisions. But a lot of it starts with putting down your own phone because parents are just as addicted as kids are to their phones.
If you're not walking the walk and you're only talking the talk, the kids like drive right past it.
Yep.
They're not going to listen to you. You have to walk the walk. Sex trafficking is huge. And it is, I mean, we were talking about predators, but it's a whole different ball game when they're actually being trafficked. Let's talk about that. What can you share that you're seeing, and how young are they starting with these girls?
As soon as they get social media.
Really?
So we're grooming kids to be worth their body parts. Okay. So I told you a lot of kids are sending out naked pictures, but now if you're being groomed to be your values are worth your body parts, when you turn 13 and 14 and maybe you get a vape habit, or maybe your cell phone gets taken by a parent and you need another cell phone, girls especially know that their body parts are worth something. So they can go to the drug dealer, they can go to the cell phone dealer at the school and say, hey, look, what's it going to cost me to get a vape? Hey, send me 2 topless pictures, which then get traded for other things, right? So you don't even have to trade your own naked pictures for items. It's basically naked pictures are becoming its own currency.
Really?
So now you got a high school boy who wants a discount on marijuana because he's hooked on marijuana. So he'll contact his dealer and say, look, I'm short on money, but I've got cheerleader number 2, topless and drunk at a party. What's it worth? And it's worth something.
Wow.
Right? Especially with OnlyFans that is mainstreaming in all the movies, selling body parts for money. Kids are seeing this on Snapchat, on TikTok all the time. It's so bad that now I'm getting girls in high school who say, hey, diplomas are for ugly kids because if you're pretty, you can sell your body for money, which you can. It's just not as easy as they think.
Hold on. Okay. When I think of sex trafficking, I think of someone taking a person and like selling them. But you're talking about sex trafficking in the sense of pictures.
Yes, but that leads to sex trafficking later. So then what's going to happen?
Okay.
They are worth their body parts. When they turn 18, they're going to say, hey, we'll give you $4,000 to come make a video in California or Florida. Now they go make a video, they get $4,000. That goes quickly. They say, hey, I need to make another video. They say, hey, we can only pay you half in money, half in heroin. Now they get them hooked on heroin. Pretty soon they're making videos, $4,000 videos for $100 worth of heroin. But here's what else the naked pictures lead to. So I had a real case where a girl at my high school who knew me pretty well as I build relationships came and said, Officer Gomez, I have a girlfriend at another high school who's 16 and she's a slave to somebody. I'm like, what? No. Boise, Idaho is a pretty nice area, and this school is even one of the nicer schools. And I'm like, okay, tell me what you know. And so what it turned out is this 16-year-old girl had sent a topless picture to her very trusted boyfriend, who shared it. A 22-year-old man had gotten a hold of that naked picture, contacted her and said, hey, I have your topless photo, and gave her a copy of it. Said, I know you, and her parents were actually some kind of church admin. And they said, hey, look, I know you go to church. Send me another topless picture of yourself, or I'm going to share this with your whole church. So unfortunately, she shared another picture. Then the next week it was send me a video. So she did. Even though every time she was fighting it, I don't want to, I don't feel comfortable. Okay, I'm going to share this. Well, then it got to go on a date with me. She's like, no, you're an adult. I'm a child. I don't want to go on a date. Okay, well, now your church is going to see 17 pictures and 3 videos that I have of you. So she went on a date. Then she went on another date. Then she went on a date with his friends. Right? That's sex trafficking.
Oh, it makes me so angry. It makes me so mad.
And this was a great kid who had great parents. And her parents, I called them on the way to the school to talk to her. I said, hey, meet me at the school. And they did. And they couldn't have been more supportive. They just had never had this conversation before. Right, but in her mind,
That is just...
if that got out, it would ruin their church stuff. It would ruin their jobs. It would ruin their everything. And they said they said, hey, look, we'll give all that up for you right now, easy. And they didn't have to, but the conversations need to happen because that is sex trafficking.
Yeah, that is. I mean, underage, 22-year-old, 16-year-old.
right?
I mean, and
Trading
then
vapes
like,
for sex is sex trafficking. Trading sex for phones is sex trafficking, right? We have high school girls who sometimes, they're so addicted to their phone, their parent takes it, they'll do whatever it takes and, to get another phone. That is sex trafficking.
okay, so what are with this information that now with girls being in this situation more than obviously boys, um, how do you even like know that this is happening as a parent? Like, what do you look for? What are signs that you can look for to say, okay, my kid's not acting right? Are they? I mean, this girl, for instance, had great parents. Was part of a church community and still got victim to this. How did they not know?
It's about having the conversations ahead of time. Unfortunately, teenagers are kind of finicky, anyways, right? Their moods go up and down, their grades go up and down, their relationships go up and down. So you have to look for something extremely out of that, right? It's like, yeah, they go up and down. Yeah, they go up and down. Have the conversations with them. A lot of times, if a parent will call me and say, hey, look, can you have a talk with my kid? I will have a talk with their kid, and we can usually get down to something that's going on with them. But I have real
Mhm.
conversations. I mean, I will say, hey, did you send booby pictures? Did you send a penis pic? Did you have sex with them?
Mm.
Did you have intercourse with them? Are you, I mean, we have real conversations, which a lot of parents are very uncomfortable with, right?
Mhm.
Every time I even
Right.
mention, I type the word boobs in my social media, I get a bunch of adults that freak out. Well, why don't you call it the right thing? No, the right thing is boobs, right? I mean, and
Yeah.
people with their husbands, hey, do you say, hey, please, do this with my breasts or not my breast? You don't talk like that with your husband. You shouldn't talk like that with your
No.
kids either. Let's talk real conversations. And those are the things
Conversations.
you have to talk about with your kids. Let's talk about sex trafficking. Let's talk about
Right.
sextortion. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about getting
Yeah.
pregnant. Let's talk about all these things. And I have a nice long list of stuff that you should be talking about. That way, when something happens, it shouldn't be foreign. Right. The problem with that example I gave you is they'd never brought up discussion, and neither have most parents. Right. When I call
Right.
parents, I'll tell them, hey, look, your kid, I just caught them having sex with somebody else in the parking lot. Oh my God, I can't believe they're having sex. I'm like, okay, they're 16. And I always ask them, how old were you when you had sex? Well, it's not the same. No, it is the same. Right. So,
Right, it's not the same. Like, why is his life different than what I was thinking at 16, right?
yep.
I mean, come on. But you're right. Like, I mean, my husband and I, we read a book and I can't remember what it was called, but it was like at 10 years old, you have a conversation with your kids. Like you sit them down, you have them like, you make it as normal as possible. So we took them on, like I took my daughter on a trip and, we talked about the birds and the bees and we had that conversation, which I don't even know where the birds and the bees even came from, but we had that conversation, just, giving them a glimpse. And then at 13, we went into a little more detail about that. So yeah, we've had conversations with our kids, and I think it's important so that they don't hear it from somebody else or watch it from somebody else or hear about it in it's a false. It's all false anyway.
Yep. So these are conversations you have to have. Just hey, at 14 years old, I get a parent that says, "Well, I think my daughter. I'm reading something about her having sex. How will I know if she's having sex?" I'm like, "Well, ask her." Well, how do I
Yeah.
ask? Are you having sex?
It's a real quick.
Yeah.
It's real easy.
Yep. But it's super uncomfortable for some people. So those are the things, the conversations we need to normalize having with kids. And I have these conversations with kids all the time, boys and girls. It doesn't matter. It's like, hey, we have real conversation. Did you send a booby picture? Have you had sex with them?
Yeah.
Is this where all your moods are coming from? We have just plain conversation. I'm not going to make a big deal about it. I'm not going to go, oh my God, right? And so when I'm talking to kids about sexual abuse, I always say, hey, parents, you're welcome to stay in here, especially if it's not one of the parents who I suspect is a suspect. I say, hey, look, you're welcome to stay in this office with me while I talk to your kid about the sex abuse, but I would rather you didn't. And they're like, well, why not? I said, because you will not be able to handle what the conversation I'm going to have is. And so
Yeah.
they always want to try. And okay, so the first question I ask is, did this person have sex with you? And the kid will kind of sheepishly say yes, and the mom will, oh, right, it's the okay, mom. Now you've just shut down your kid to anything else.
Right. Yes. And that is so true, and because you're as the parent listening, you're like, this can't happen. Like, this is not in my world. This is not what's going to happen in my family. And that's what everybody thinks,
Yeah.
right? Everybody thinks that it couldn't happen to me. It couldn't happen to my kid. But those are the people that really need to be aware because they
Yep.
can.
And I can have almost any conversation with any age kid. I'm very careful, and I try and follow the procedure so that we can make cases stick. But I'll have a conversation because I have an honest conversation. I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to overjudge them for their mistakes. And some parents really overjudge kids for their mistakes, and some people really freak out. And so that's why a lot of times I'll have the conversation first with the kids without the parents. And I'm like, okay,
Right.
and I'll tell the kids, hey, look, you have to give some grace to your parents as well. It hasn't been something they've thought about. They might freak out. Just go about your business, say it accordingly, and be the grown up if you have to. And sometimes the kids are the grown up with these conversations.
Well, what's the worst case that you've ever been a part of? Without saying someone's name, like what case has been the worst thing you've ever seen?
So I had a 23-year-old man who was very good looking by all accounts. Was very good at photography, and he was going after young girls 12 to 20. And he would say, hey, look, I have a photography business. I'm trying to build my portfolio. I'd really like to take your picture. And they would go over to his house that he lived with his parents, so they thought it was safe. And then he would get extremely violent with them and rape them. And he probably did this to more than 100 girls. And they were so afraid of
Oh,
him that nobody would ever tell me. Well, again, I had one of my contacts come to me and say, hey, Gomez, there's something happening on social media you ought to see. And this one girl mentioned him by name, said, hey, has anybody ever been a victim of this guy? And mentioned him by name. And underneath, I have, my sister has, my friend has, my sister has, my friend has. And so I said, I'm going to her house. So I went to her house to talk to her. By the time I talked to her, it was over 100 girls that had been raped by this guy. But nobody would talk about it because they were so scared. And this was
what were they scared
violent,
of?
violent beyond comprehension. Even I had a police officer's daughter involved with him. She didn't even want to tell her dad, and she wasn't even directly involved. He had threatened him so bad that she was afraid to even tell her dad.
Oh my gosh. What would he say?
He would say, well, I
Would
have
he kill him?
he would say something about his brother was a drug dealer and he can make people disappear. And he would, he has PTSD from being in the military and all kinds of things. But again, his good looks kind of got him past some of the red flags that should have been adhered to.
I'm thinking of parents and how to, navigate through these games and these kids that are going to, fall for some of these schemes, right?
Uh-huh.
And how do they respond? How does the child respond? I mean, I would think that the parent should have these conversations beforehand. And you kind of mentioned that earlier, that the parents need to have these open dialogues with their kids. And if you're going to allow them access, then you need to have the conversations beforehand. And I think this is such an important thing because I feel like, I remember you're kind of naive when you first have kids, right? You're like, okay, I just had this baby. They're growing up. Now I've got 2, maybe 3 kids under the age of 7, right? And you're going to start letting them play like Minecraft, Roblox, things like that. And there are obviously predators that are, infiltrating into those games. But you're living in this bubble like, oh, I protect my kids. My kids aren't going to get involved in any of that. I want to protect them. I don't even want to have these conversations. They're too young. Their ears are too young to hear this. Now, I think your thought process is if you're going to allow them access to these games, then you need to have these conversations beforehand, probably.
And even if you're not going to allow access, right? And the reason that is the first time they're at the park with a kid who has a phone, that kid is going to show them something that you're not ready for. The first time they get on the
Right.
bus to go to school, they're going to see things that they're not ready for because some other parents leave their kids absolute access to their phones. In fact, I would say more parents than not let kids have full access to the phones because that's their babysitter. So now, even if your kid
Right.
doesn't have a phone, they're going to see it on somebody else's phone. So as soon as they start kindergarten, you got to start. What happens when you see a naked picture of somebody on a phone? What are you going to do? What happens when somebody
Right.
shows you a video on a bus of somebody getting killed in a gruesome way? Because it's going to happen. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
How are we going to deal with that? Right? We have to prepare our kids for these things, whether they have access or not.
So let's say you have a friend that, or not you, your son has a friend that comes over and you have restrictions, on your internet and you have restrictions on their phone and all of your devices, right? But he brings in his phone or his iPad or whatever and is playing under your roof. How do you protect your family in that environment when you've done everything you can to protect your kids from that space, but yet his access, with his phone? Is there restrictions that would automatically, or is there a platform out there?
There's not. So the best way to do this is the old school method. Make a phone basket, put it by your door, and say, hey, look, inside this house, you got to put your phone in the basket. That way you're not depriving him of his phone, and they can use that phone anytime they want as long as they walk outside the house to do it. But in our house, all the incoming phones, they go right in this basket for kids, of course, because there's no way to stop it. You can put things on your router, but if they're using cell service, you're not going to be able to block the cell service, right? And you have
Right.
no way to do that. So just an old school basket by the door. This is our cell phone basket. When you come into our house, it's just like shoes, right? Hey, you're not going to bring dirt into our house on your shoes. Park your shoes there. Park your cell phone in the basket. That way, you're not spying on them. You're not keeping them from that. If they need to call their parents, there's the basket. There's your phone. Have a good time.
What age do you think is appropriate for kids to have a phone?
Oh, this is a good one. Okay, so a lot of parents want to communicate and know where their kids are at age like 6. So the safety watches, so the Gizmo watch, the Bounce watch, the whatever T-Mobile, Verizon, their little safety watches are excellent, right? You can put 10 numbers in them. They can't add any numbers. They can text small text messages back. They can call you. You can GPS them. That's all you need. So the safety watch is good till a kid's probably 10 or 11. Then they'll start getting bullied at school for having the watches. So then after that, I recommend going to some of the safety phones. So Pinwheel, Bark, TrueMe, Gap Wireless, all those companies and many more make a safety phone where not only do they highly restrict what apps are going on there, but they also help you figure things out. So you might get a call at 2 a.m. Hey, it looks like your kid is talking about suicide, or it looks like your kid might have sent a naked picture. We're sending it to you in a file. You can look at it and see what's going on. But those things are a lot more restrictive. For an actual unrestricted smartphone, I say about 16 would be about the time they start driving, would be where you can do that if you need. The problem is as soon as you get them on social media, there's no going back. It's a drug. It's addictive. There's no going back.
Right.
And even if you take away all their stuff, they're going to get burner phones. They're going to get all kinds of stuff. So once you allow it, you can't just, oh, I think I'm going to try this. It's like giving somebody heroin. It's like, hey, why don't you try heroin? If you don't like it, we'll take it away from you. Once they're addicted, they're going to hustle to get their addiction. And kids, the schools is a prime example. They're awful for phones. They're awful with the Chromebooks. Education is hardly happening anymore because of these distractions that parents are sending to school with kids.
I appreciate that timeline, and I didn't even know that there were phones out there that had those kinds of restrictions and that actually kind of help the parent. That's amazing. Those should definitely be highlighted. There's options out there. Out of all of the cases that you've been a part of, what case has hit you hardest and impacted you most?
That's a great question, and I have lots that impact me a lot. And so let's further my story a little bit more. So I went from Boise, Idaho, up into Boise County. So I went to be an SRO at a small school up in the mountains. And up in the mountains, I mean, it is very, very rural. I found that there was a lot of houses that don't have running water and electricity. So I had families at the school, no running water, no electricity, and we have 4 feet of standing snow in the winter, right? And what I found is a lot of these people come up there to hide from civilization. And so you end up with some kids with almost nothing. Right? And then you got drug addicted parents are probably the ones that hit me the hardest, because now I get to know these kids at school and they're 6, 7, 8 years old. And I've arrested their parents for meth, for heroin, for these kind of things. And I'm helpless to take their kids away, right? So people always say, oh, well, you can take somebody's kids away if they're on drugs. No. Look how many kids get arrested, how many adults get arrested for drugs. We don't have the bandwidth to take all their kids, nor do we. Right?
Oh my gosh.
So now I'm dealing with
they're in this environment.
Yeah, so now they're coming to school And school is honestly the best place for them because we feed them. We actually give them clothing and shoes because we have those kind of resources. We love on them and we teach them, everything we can, but then they have to go home to this crazy environment. And I, as a police officer, am helpless. I am, as a human being, I'm helpless to help this because this is a life chosen by their parents.
Right.
And so all we can do is, hey, look, we're going to put as many champions, adults, positive adults in their life as we can. But that's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking when I go, I get called out at 2 a.m. because parents are having a drunk fight and trying to kill each other while the two little girls are hiding in the closet calling 911 and, trying to comfort themselves. And I've been to the house for the same thing 3 times. And so now
Ugh.
I go to the school and we have like a handle with care program, which means, hey, we let the teachers know, hey, they might need to go in the, closet and take a nap. They might need a little extra attention. And we're talking to the parents and it's like, man, parents, you're affecting your kids and they do. But as soon as they get drunk, that's all out the window. As soon as they get drugs,
Yeah.
I get parents who pimp out their kids for money for more drugs, right? They will
Oh my
literally
gosh.
prostitute their kids out. And again, I'm helpless.
Ugh.
On the
That's awful.
foster care front, right? Idaho doesn't have enough foster care parents, and I'm thinking that every other state has a foster care shortage, which means that, when I take kids, I have nowhere to take them because when I take them, foster care puts them in a hotel with other foster kids, which is no good. And you got this monitor at the end of the hallway that's just watching for kids not to leave their rooms at night because we don't have enough foster parents. So if you've ever thought about being a foster parent, I always advise it, even though it's going to be heartbreaking. It's going to be one of the most rewarding things you ever did. Now, I always tell people I recommend you don't do it till your own kids leave the house because they are, impressionable and you will have some heartbreak and some craziness happen. And so these are
Yeah.
things that,
I have a brother that fosters, and I actually did a story on a person that does foster care, and yeah, it's heartbreaking to see the stories.
yep. So at the school, those things, impact me because I'm helpless and I know it's ongoing. Right now, I have kids who are couch surfing, and the only times their parents contact them is when they want more drug money. Hey, wherever you're staying, can you steal some money for me? Can you give us some money? And these are parents who are contacting their 11, 12, 13-year-old kids,
Ugh.
asking them for money because they need to buy cigarettes, they need to get vapes, they need to get drugs. So those are super impactful, and they happen at every school. Whether you're up in the mountains, whether you're in a rich neighborhood, there's still going to be kids who have that kind of lifestyle.
It's so hard to watch because you want to help everybody, and you can't.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I think there is probably a foster care shortage out there, because I know there's a lot of kids, especially in the world we live in today, where you know parents aren't parenting. And then you see this ripple effect that happens, unfortunately, where the parents now have influenced their kids because who is the best example for them, and what they see as normal is their parents. But if they do have a school, which hopefully, it sounds like you guys had a great program where if you saw a kid that was really tired and you knew that they were, had been up because of the dysfunction of their parents, there's this place, for the kid to maybe have a little break and rest. I think that's a great thing. I don't know that all schools do that.
Yep, and we have showers for the kids, right? If they don't have a working shower at home, we have little boxes of meals that we can send home with them on weekends. If they don't have enough food, we have snacks that they can eat when they come to school. So we have all kinds of things in place. And I mean, there's multiple schools. I've worked at 5 different schools as SRO. And most of the schools have something like that if there's any kind of a need, because you always have great teachers, great administrators, great people that step in and help out.
Yeah, I want to check and see. I don't know that that is nationwide. I don't know. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know that here in Texas, we're in Texas. I don't know if we have that or not. I've never heard about it, so I haven't asked. But I definitely am interested in hearing if it's a nationwide thing or if it's
Yeah,
just
so ask your school,
a
and
few
usually it's the
states.
school that organizes it. So just, hey, do you have something for underprivileged kids for, if their shoes are worn out? If they, because
Yeah.
that's what kind of got me started at the middle school when I started there. I had 2 middle school girls who were weekly going to the janitor who would hot glue gun their shoes back together.
Oh,
Right. So then
because
that
they didn't have
so that we had to get
shoes. They
them.
didn't have walking shoes.
Yeah, we had to get them shoes, and that put me in touch with. We have a place called the Closet. A woman runs a shop where she gets a lot of donations, and she brings in kids one at a time for an hour with their families, and they get to shop for anything for free in their store. And she makes sure it fits them good and sends them out of there with lots of love and care, and maybe 7 or 8 different outfits for them to be at school with. So amazing people around. We also have our local Nike store has a law enforcement credit card. So if law enforcement sees any kids that need shoes, they can take them into the Nike store, and Nike will get them a brand new pair of shoes and take it off the credit card in the back. And the community can donate to that so that law enforcement has the ability to get shoes for kids that need it.
Is it only in Idaho, or
No,
have you?
So these are not state programs. These are individual programs. So the shoe program is one I actually started at the Nike store, but anybody can do
Okay.
this.
Wow. So you started a shoe program. People donate money to Nike, and then at that store, and then they can go in, and if a police officer sees a kid that doesn't have, that their shoes are falling apart, they can take them in and deduct money from that.
Yeah,
with
so
that
that
pair of
started
shoes.
off actually, at my own school where I saw the 2 girls without shoes. I said, hey, you got some, I told people some nice shoes that you're not using, they don't fit, whatever, give them to me and I'll give them out to kids. So I probably had 100 pairs of shoes I could give out all the time. Well, then I did a social media presentation for a group of dentists. And they said, hey, well, we want to pay you. I'm like, no, my department pays me already. You can't pay me because that's weird and you can't do that. Well, how can we help? I'm like, well, I need shoes. And so they actually said, hey, we weren't sure about the shoes, so here's a $500 gift card for the Nike shop that we got for you. So I went to the Nike shop, and they kept it in back, and I talked to the manager there, and I said, hey, look, the kids that I'm bringing in or sending in have never had shoes before. They've never had shoes in a box. And so they treated kids so nicely when they came in. They would let them cut their own security tags off. They'd give them brand new socks. It was just amazing to see. So when I ran out of that $500, the school at a football game did a 50-50 raffle, and they donated the 50% to the shoe program. Wow. Well, then I started giving it, all that started. I said, hey, look, you have a kid without shoes, take them to the Nike store. And the Nike store not only gives them they give them friends and family discount, they give them everything. So, $150 pair of Nike shoes, they only deduct, $52 from the credit card. And then they let me know when I need more. And so another thing that's kind of a blessing is, the manager of the Nike store said, hey, look, Gomez, whenever you put it on social media that it's running low, because they send me an email that says, hey, running low. And they said, when people come in, they said, we've got somebody that comes and puts $1,000 on the shoe credit card. And we love that. And that's awesome. They said, but what's more awesome for our employees is when you get a 12-year-old who comes and gives $13 for the shoe program.
Well, that is amazing. I love that you started this. And I think this is something that should take off in every county, at every state, for sure.
It should.
I mean,
and there's lots of things like that.
It should.
A local gas station has a coat wall. So have a coat, leave one. Need one, take one. And so they have it not only for kids, but for adults, but mostly kids. And so in the wintertime, when it starts getting cold, one of their walls is just for donation coats. So you go drop some coats off, kids can come in and just grab it for free and walk out. You have some extra ones, you leave it on the hook. An easy, simple idea that doesn't cost anybody anything, yet it is greatly beneficial to people.
So how did you pick locations for this? Just because, based on where you live?
Yes. At the time, I was a Meridian police officer, so the dentist offices were there in Boise area. So they actually picked the Nike shop because that's who somebody knew. And that just worked out beautiful. On top of that, every once in a while, the Nike shop will call me and say, hey, we have this young lady in here who's in here shopping for, socks or a shirt for basketball, but her shoes are really not working. Can we use a card? I'm like, absolutely. You don't even have to ask me for that. Just do it. Right. Or if they have, somebody who needs it for whatever, just use it. Right. So the community can use the card if they need.
I would definitely think this is something that could take off, everywhere. And do you know of any other places that are doing this?
So there's other programs, other states, other places, but they're usually started by an individual. And usually, it's somebody at the YMCA or somebody at the teen center. There are amazing people all over the United States. If you look online and type in the 50-yard challenge, I don't know if you've seen that, but this is a guy who tells kids, hey, if you mow 50 yards for the elderly or people that cannot afford to do it or cannot do it themselves, and they keep track, when they hit the 50 yards, he goes and takes them a brand new lawnmower, weed whacker, and blower. And so That's all he does now. That turned in, that doing it for a couple of kids, that's turned into a national movement. So he just travels around the country giving kids who have completed the 50-yard challenge brand new lawnmowers and weed whackers and blowers and giving them attention and shirts and everything, because that's awesome that they're going out and doing this for free for everybody. That's called the 50-yard challenge, a beautiful program. And I think that's nationwide. He'll do that for anybody. And of course, those are all donated by Home Depot, by Lowe's, by everything. They're happy to donate to great causes. Just like my shoe program, people love donating for great causes. We just need a couple of those great causes.
It's not just doing the great cause and helping that kid, right? It's not just helping the child that needed the shoes, but it's, the way why we were created was to give back, right? And to help other people, to be of service to other people. And like, I think about these kids that are, mowing 50 yards. How many people do they meet in those 50 yards? Like, they had to have conversations. So they're learning how to communicate and talk face to face. They're learning how to, do something nice for somebody with, nothing really in return in as far as financial at that point, right? And they are learning how to find self-worth, like seeing and accomplishing tasks, and that just creates even more value for yourself, whether you know what you're worth or not. That's going to help you just, again, feel better about yourself because you're doing something really good.
Unlimited blessings from that.
Yes,
right. One
absolutely.
of the other programs that I started, especially up in the mountains where I'm at, is kids with single moms, especially like the boys. I give them a $20 or $30 toolbox. I say, look, this is yours. It's got a brand new set of shiny tools. And I put a 6-month piece of duct tape on there. So, hey, duct tape inside the toolbox. And I tell the kids, if you use these tools and you keep them all together, in 6 months, I'll upgrade you to the next toolbox size, right? So then we go to the $80 or $90 toolbox. Then we go to the $200 toolbox. Then we have $400 toolboxes. And so they kind of earn their way up. But a lot of them don't have anything. So now they have this nice set of tools that's theirs, that's useful, that they can call their own, and they can upgrade them. And when I put that program out, it kind of started with one kid. Hey, look, I'm doing this. Who has an extra toolbox? This is what I'm doing. I got inundated with toolboxes to where I had like 40 or 50 toolboxes in my garage that I didn't have enough kids for.
Give away fast enough.
Yes. And some of the companies and organizations that donated the $400 toolboxes, they said, hey, look, any kid that gets to this $400 toolbox, in the summers, we'd love them to come work for us. If they graduate, high school and they don't want to go on to college, come work for us, right? We know that they've been vetted, that they've used this, that they've kept track of this. We would love to hire them.
The fact that you chose to do this for boys that are raised by single moms, and you chose to do a toolbox. Why the toolbox?
What happened is in our town, we had lots of kids. I want them to be on bikes. And so a lot of the bikes were lacking in maintenance and needing some help. So instead of doing it all myself, which I have a bike toolbox in my patrol truck, I said, hey, I wonder if I could get some of the kids to do this. So I started with like, hey, let me give you a toolbox. And why don't you start fixing some of them? And I gave them a whole box of inner tubes, some patch kits. I showed them how to do it. We got some neighbors that would help them do it. We actually had a motorcycle club in our town that would help him do it as well. But he learned. And he loved the toolbox. When it came time to upgrade, he couldn't have been more proud of himself than anything. But he was also making sure that the bikes in our town were kept up.
Well, you were raised by a single mom.
Yes.
So you were specifically doing this toolbox for the bikes. Was bikes a way for you to kind of escape, or was that your pastime? Like, why a bike?
So I did lots of bikes when I was a kid, jumped them and wheelied them and broke them and all kinds of stuff. But bikes can be used by anybody, anywhere, almost anytime. And for kids in our place, it's a way for them to get out and go talk to each other in person versus, doing everything online. I like to get kids to get out. And bikes is just an easy way to do this. I mean, bikes is life for some kids. They get everywhere. Even some adults can get around on bikes quite a bit.
I want to touch on AI because AI is, not going away. It's moving very fast, and our kids are being exploited big time because of it. What danger are parents preparing for based on yesterday's internet while their children are already living in tomorrow's environment?
So one of the big problems with AI right now is that almost every high schooler, even middle schoolers, are using it to help them do their homework, their math, their everything. So unfortunately, we're going to graduate not only high school students who do not know how to function without AI, we're going to graduate college students who have degrees that are completely AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of
Yeah.
putting work into learning math, into learning sentences, all this, kids are putting more effort into learning how to make AI look like not AI, right? To try and get around the teacher
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But teachers are pretty smart. They know who's using AI. And right now, almost every kid in high school is using AI. Almost every kid in
Yeah.
middle school is using AI, almost every kid in college. And so parents are like, well, AI is the future. Yeah, but not the way you're using it. In fact, those jobs are going to be the first to go. AI, if you're using AI to do stuff, those are the ones AI is going to take over. You need some people
Right.
skills, you need some hand skills, which are not getting any help. And
Right.
the problem is that, AI is also very biased. I've seen it I use
Yes.
ChatGPT a lot for all kinds of things, but I've also seen it's biased. I've seen that it's incorrect
Yes.
sometimes,
Yes.
right? And a lot of times it's easy to tell that it's been done with AI. So now a lot of people that are filling out job applications, they'll run it through the AI checker. If it's AI, they're throwing away job applications. A lot of,
Yeah.
any kind of proposals, things like that, they're doing AI checks on it. If it's AI, it's gone, right?
Right.
Because if you can choose, if you're an employer and you can choose between AI and non-AI, you want the non-AI thinker. You want somebody who can do their roots. And if you got somebody who knows how to do math skills, knows how to do English, knows how to write, to teach them AI if it's needed, it takes 5 minutes.
I want to go to something that we haven't talked about, and that's bullying. And I think bullying has gotten out of hand in so many ways. Um, I mean, whether it's you are the kid that doesn't have Snapchat, like my daughter, doesn't have Snapchat. Um, Schools and extracurricular activities, and not necessarily schools, but I will say some schools, but extracurricular activities, they're using Snapchat as a way of communication. And that's one of the things that parents feel very like their hands are tied because, mom, I mean, that this is how my coach is communicating with me. But they're also being, bullied because they don't have it. So it's like a double whammy. How do you navigate that?
Okay, so personal story, we take in a lot of high-risk teens in our house. So we don't have any of our own kids anymore. They're all out of the house. So we take in some high-risk teens in our house. And these high-risk teens always feel like they're bullied more than most kids because they have no self-worth, no self-value. And so anybody says anything to them and they feel like they're being bullied. And it's easy to bully them because they have no self-value. So one of the things we
Right.
work on right away, a couple of things. Who controls your thoughts and emotions? That's what we always tell them. Who controls your thoughts and emotions? And they always say, well, I do. No, if you're coming home crying because somebody said something about you on social media or in real life, they're controlling your thoughts and emotions. So we got to get you that control back, right? We need
Okay.
you to control your thoughts and emotions. And then the number one house rule or quote is we cannot be offended by mere mortals in this house. Right? And so a lot of that
Yep.
is they take offense and they learn to take offense from everything. And so I say, hey, look,
Right.
we cannot be offended, especially by a mere mortal. What somebody says, that's their deal. That's not our deal. And so we
Mm-hmm.
start,
And most of the time it's projection anyway.
yep. And so
Like
then we
they're
start,
projecting on you.
we start working with them. And so at the school, especially, I'll draw a little house key on a sticky pad of paper. And I'll give it to the kid and I'll say, hey, look, this house key represents control of your life. Now, Bobby or Susie, whoever you think is being mean to you right now, I want you to rip off a piece of that key and I'll go give it to them and I'll say, hey, look, you have this much control of Bob's life or you have this much
Wow.
control of Sarah's life. So go ahead and rip off that key. Now, most kids, when I tell them to do that, they clutch that key to their chest and I don't want to give anybody control of my life. That which is the right thing. Some of them will rip some. No, no, come on, you missed the whole thing. And
Yeah.
a lot of them will take that key and they'll
No,
put it in their binder. So that as a reminder to say, hey, I am in control of my life. I am in control of my thoughts and emotions.
I love that.
And so that is a
That's such a
visual
great,
representation. And so the high risk kids that come into our house, of course, at first, even though we have those conversations, they're still not to the point. They can still be bullied. They're still susceptible to it. But after 2 or 3 months of being at our house, they can't be bullied anymore. Right?
right.
I almost welcome the opportunity for them to get bullied, because now we can sit down and talk as a family. And in our family, even with kids that are just drop offs or they come by as friends to our foster kids, we have tribal council like every Friday night. And we talk about this. Hey, who bullied you and how? We need the opportunity. And so a lot of parents who call me and say, my kid got bullied, I'm like, oh, nice. Now you have the opportunity to educate your kid. Because in order to educate them, you need a challenge. Here's your challenge.
Right.
And now you have the playbook. You know how they were bullied. You know how they're going to get bullied tomorrow. You know how they're going to get bullied next week. Let's come up with some ways to fix that.
What if it's bullying by multiple people though? Like, let's say there's a situation where it's not like it's one-on-one, it's like 5-on-1, which that's happening.
Yes, no. So if your kid is in a group chat, which almost every middle school kid on up is in a group chat, they are going to be told you should go kill yourself.
What?
Yes.
Why?
Because
like just one person, or like they're gonna like all say it, or what do you mean by that?
There's gonna be multiple. So it's just something the kids are saying these days. You should go kill yourself. I just posted about this last week. Go on there and see how many of the commenters, their kids have been told to kill themselves. All of them.
All of them.
Right? Just because it's a common thing that kids say on gaming systems, they say it on internet, and kids see it so much that when they're mad at somebody, you should just go kill yourself.
Wow.
Okay, so in their group chats, when somebody says that, especially now, let's say you're the person who tells somebody else to go kill themselves. Now you're going to feel bullied because everybody's going to be hating you. Oh, that's rude. You should never tell somebody died of that. Now you're going to get bullied. Mom, everybody just hates me in our chat group. Well, yeah, because you told somebody to go kill themselves. But to them, that feels like bullying. Right. So again, we have to solve this in a way that is a solution for everybody. Hey, are you nice enough? Are you not nice enough? What can you do better? What can you do different? Let's see what happened. Let's run the tape, which is a replay.
Right.
What started this? Hey, you're in a chat group. Okay, are these friends that you really want to be in a chat group with? Can you pick different friends, better friends? And every kid starting in middle school that's in a chat group, which is most of them, even if your kid doesn't have a phone, they're going to be on a Google Docs chat room at school.
Right.
So they will get bullied by multiple people. And again, this is their opportunity, because when you're an adult, you're going to be in some places that you're going to get bullied by multiple people. Me as a police officer, I carry a gun and a taser. People try and bully me on my Facebook page all the time.
Right.
And I am the prime example of, you're not going to bother me at all.
Right.
Right.
Say what you want to say. Yep. I don't care.
And
your opinion doesn't matter.
Comments because I want people to see how you handle it.
Right.
People are like, why don't you delete this crazy person? No, I don't want to delete them, because this is real world example of what happens and how you should handle it.
Right.
And people always get offended on my behalf. No, don't get offended on my behalf. If I got offended, I would let them know, which I don't get offended online, especially.
Yeah.
Block, delete, and move on with your life. But you see parents and stuff jump in to try and defend me. Oh, Gomez is the nicest guy. You shouldn't say such mean things. Or he's a police officer. You should. No, I don't need defending. But this is, I want you to learn. And especially if a challenge happens to your child, even a mean teacher. Most parents think, their kid has a mean teacher. The teacher's not mean. But let's say they are mean. In our house, hey, you got a mean teacher. Are you going to have a mean boss someday? Yeah. Let's learn. Yep. Let's learn how to handle this. Versus you being a victim right away. A lot of parents go right straight to victim.
Yeah. No, that's not what we do at our house. I say you're either a victim or a victor, and we're not victims. So you're going to be a victor. Yep. And, and we teach people how we want to be treated. I think that's a huge thing that I always tell my kids. You teach people how you want to be treated. So, make sure that you are, teaching them the right way.
Yep. Absolutely.
Just to kind of go back into that AI, and maybe you have some more information, because I know it's so new. Deep fakes that are happening. What is your experience with that, as far as from a predator standpoint, and anything else you could say about AI?
Okay, so a big problem with AI, and not necessarily predators, what's happening these days is there's a lot of free apps that you can download that nudifies people. Right? So basically you can take a picture of a person, and the application makes them naked. It does a body
Uh-huh.
scan. It makes the best approximation of them naked. Well, unfortunately, middle school kids, high school kids get a hold of these apps. They'll take a picture of their buddy, make them naked, and put it out on the chat groups because it's funny.
Okay.
But they also do
Yeah.
this to girls at their school, to boys. Nobody's free from this, to teachers, everything. So then what happens is they do this, it gets shared around. Well, it gets outside that circle and it's out forever.
Right.
Now, in most states, this is actually a felony crime. And so my story to parents is, look, imagine I show up at your door, I knock on your door. Hey, is your 12-year-old son, daughter home? Yes, I need to talk to them. And I say, hey, look, did you send out a naked picture of somebody? Yeah, my friend, I sent out a naked picture. Well, how did you get that naked picture? Well, I took their Instagram photo and I made it with the Nudify app. I thought it would be funny. It was just a joke. I'm like, do you know how much it's being shared? Yes, I know how much it's being shared because it blew up. I didn't expect that. And then I tell them, okay, stand up, put your hands behind your back. You're under arrest. You're going down to juvenile detention. And I tell them that when SROs, when administrators around the country call me and tell me this is happening, I tell them, arrest that child if your laws allow, because this is a big deal. Because that kid has to deal, the victim of that has to deal with those naked pictures for the rest of their life.
Right.
Right? This is something that won't go away. And when they go to a job
Right.
interview, somebody's going to do a search on their name. Here's their naked picture. Every year, they're going to get multiple predators are going to contact them. Hey, here's your naked picture. Send me $200 on iTunes cards, or I'm going to share this naked picture with everybody. Right? So it's a much bigger deal than parents can even imagine. And now, good kids in middle school and high school, because they think they're joking about their friends, they're getting arrested. And you can look up on the news, people are getting arrested, especially if I have anything to do with it. I tell them arrest those kids because I need the message to go out that this is a big deal and I don't want this happening anymore.
Right. I mean, even if it's not even the real body of a
Yep.
nude body, it's still like
Yep.
like you said, it's as close to it as possible. I mean, AI is becoming so real that you don't even know what's real and what's not.
So that's one of the bigger things that parents have to worry about is they don't understand how quickly their kids can get into trouble for AI deepfakes. Now, the other thing that predators are doing is, hey, I have a naked picture of you. Send me $500 in iTunes cards, or I'm going to share it with everybody. Now, unfortunately, plenty of kids send out their real naked pictures. I haven't seen the deepfakes come anywhere close to kids actually sending out their naked pictures. Now, so let's talk about that for a second. Real naked photos are going out at rates that parents cannot understand. Now, every teenage boy is going to be challenged by a 15-year-old hottie girl who talks to them privately on a chat and says, hey, I like you a lot. You're super special. Let me send you a picture. And they send a topless picture of themselves and ask your boy to send one back. When this happens, that is the most exciting thing your teenage boy has seen in their entire life by 100. Most of them are going to send that naked picture back. When they do, they are going to be contacted and they're going to say, hey, look, we have your naked picture. Here's a 15-second video clip of your Instagram friends list. You have 2 hours to come up with $500 in iTunes cards, or we're going to share this with everybody. And this is actually causing kids to commit suicide around the United States because they're so embarrassed.
I saw the post that you posted recently.
Yep, that's happening over and over and over again. And again, parents cannot comprehend this. They think, why would my teenage boy send a naked picture to anybody, much less a stranger?
Right.
And these are professional criminal organizations, usually a dude who's just downloaded naked pictures of a young-looking pornographic actress, and they steal her identity and go after kids. Most boys are going to fail that challenge because biology takes over and their real brain stops working once they see the topless picture. So this is a conversation you have to have over and over and over again. Now, girls are sending out their naked pictures in record numbers as well, just because older boys contact them and they say, hey, send me nude photos. And when the girl says, nah, I don't really feel comfortable doing that, they say, hey, I thought you were more mature than that, which again, they're preying on their biological instincts to want to be more mature. And they send out their naked pictures, and now they get sextorted for the rest of their life as well. Jennifer Lawrence has a good interview in one of the magazines. You know, she's a movie actress. And she says, hey, look, I shared some nude photos with somebody at some point, and it got shared. Now half the world has their naked photos. But she says, every time I talk to a male who's interested in me for whatever, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, he probably has my nude photos, which I didn't give consent for. So that's affected her. She's got
Gosh.
millions of dollars. She can't undo those photos getting shared.
Once it's out there
Yep.
forever.
It's like trying to unscramble an egg to
And
get it back. You cannot do it.
if a parent is being faced with this right now and they have a child that is, come to them and said, I took this picture, of my lower half, right, as a guy, and I am now being, contacted. They're saying they're going to, post it everywhere. What does a parent do?
So in that case, I recommend calling the police immediately. Now, a lot of police departments, a lot of officers are not going to know what to do with that. They don't understand the whole ins and outs like I do, but that's okay. And the reason I want you to call police is because I want local police to know what's happening. And after they do it a couple of times, they're going to educate themselves. And I go and educate police departments all around the United States as well on how to deal with this. Now, in reality, the person doing this is probably in South Africa. They're probably in the Philippines. They're probably somewhere far away where we're never going to arrest them.
Right.
But the education needs to start happening. Right.
Right.
And so the more police know, and police can help you and they can make it stop and make it less scary. A lot of parents think, hey, well, my kid sent out a nude. It's illegal. So I'm worried about them catching charges. No, we treat your kids as victims in that situation. So you shouldn't catch charges at all. Now,
okay.
Most states have an Internet Crimes Against Children task force. So the officer that shows up at your door, even though they don't know what to do, they can contact the task force. The task force will talk them through how to do subpoenas to Snapchat, how to figure out who this is. And again, if they're a local, which I've arrested local people, I've arrested high schoolers who are sextorting other high schoolers at my same school.
Wow.
Right? So we always call the police, get them involved right away, figure it out, talk it through, and don't let this be a defining moment. When something bad happens to your kids, some parents will make that be the defining moment of their life. And I always say, hey, look, picture your kid getting hit on their bike by a car. I show up as an officer, and I have two different parents that show up. One parent shows up, hey, look, I call them, hey, you need to come. Your daughter got hit by a car across the street. The ambulance is checking her out. She's going to be fine. One parent shows up and says, hey, how come you didn't look both ways? What could you do differently next time? Are you okay? Good, thanks. We'll get some ice cream. We're done. The other parent shows up. Oh my God, we need to call a lawyer here right now. I need a supervisor. This is the worst thing to happen to my child ever. I'm taking her to counseling. I'm doing this. I can't. They make it the biggest event of their life. And so that's going to scar them. They're never going to want to ride a bike again. That's going to become a defining characteristic. Hey, how are you? I mean, this is going to be in relationships. What's wrong with you? Well, I got hit by a bike when I was 11. I got hit on my bike by a car when I was 11. And I talk to kids who really are victims of one event for the rest of their lives. Bad things are going to happen to good kids. We deal with it. We move on.
That's right. And I think that's an important thing that I hope, people will understand is that you're right. Like it's, things are going to happen. And when they do, keep a level head, realize that, unfortunately, we're the one that's given them the phone. We've given them access to these things. And so, it's not just on the kid. I mean, the kid gets to make the choice, but ultimately there is, I think, a responsibility as parents to be level set and to remember that this is going to happen. We're going to address it and we're going to educate and we're going to
use it as a coaching opportunity. You can't coach unless you have something to coach on.
You will be speaking in a lot of different areas. Where is your next location that you're going to be at, and how would they have access to finding out your schedule?
So they can go onto my Facebook page and find out my schedule for the next year, basically. I'm just getting started on this, but I post all my events. Some of them are available to the public. Lots of them are parent nights where parents can come and just join and see everything I have to talk about. Some of them I'm talking to schools. If you want to hire me, you can do that through the Facebook page as well. I've actually worked for a company that operates out of Dallas, Texas, and we're a speakers network. So we have several speakers that go out and give lots of information.
The things that you've been exposed to and the things that you've heard and seen, I mean, I don't know how you, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do what you do. My heart goes to you. I'll be praying for you because what you're doing with, bringing awareness is huge because parents are naive. Parents don't think it can happen to their family. And that's generally the speaking of, I would say most parents. They're like, it can't happen to me. Like my family, no. And yet it is happening. It's happening all over. And, you're bringing a lot of light to it. You're doing a lot of other things that are amazing in the communities that you've been a part of. And, I really hope that, the things that you've started, that they'll take off other places, because honestly, like there is a lot of good people out there. There are people that want to help. So thank you,
There are.
Officer Gomez, for sharing, your knowledge, your information, your wisdom, and your heart with us today on Dallas the Podcast.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.